The 96 Gal Deco returns, and once again, it has a splash wall by its side. A lot of the times when people talk about the 96 Deco from Splatoon 1, they say it was only good because of its kit, with its kit being Splash Wall and Kraken, and that is not entirely far from the truth, as a lot of the problems with the 96 Gal were sort of mitigated and corrected by the use of the Splash Wall. The weapon itself is very inaccurate, and oftentimes you'll end up missing people that you're pointing directly at. But that's where the splash wall would come in. It would act as a failsafe and a sort of protection for the weapon's inaccuracy and would make up for the problems with the weapon, and did a better job than probably a bomb could. The weapon itself meshed very well with the splash wall, and it helped it so much, and that's why people were so frustrated with it in the first game, was it sort of helped the weapon too much, I would say, and the Kraken was also almost always annoying. The splash wall returns for the 96 in this game, and once again it meshes perfectly with this weapon, though the time to deploy the splash wall has been prolonged a little bit, so it is not a good like throw to start an engagement sort of option, but it is a better for maintaining your approach or maintaining your position. It is still a very good thing for this weapon to have. The vanilla 96, while having a good special in the ink armor, it isn't too the sprinkler isn't going to do anything for the weapon. It is just going to help build that armor, where there isn't like the sub to help with the weapon's inaccuracy or its shortcomings, where the wall does provide that. People said that the 96 Deco was only good because of the wall. Well, I would say it was only playable because of the wall. The 96 had just so many things going against it that the splash wall's existence merely helped it exist to begin with. And that continues to say the truth here, where the 96 Deco, at least in my opinion, is a very good pick, as it has a good sub, and it actually has a good special. While of course we're never going to see Kraken return, it does have Splashdown, which is basically this game's version of a panic button, so it basically sort of acts the same way as Kraken, where that was a panic button as well. This is very similar to that, and Splashdown continues to be a more annoying special than people give it credit for, despite the fact that it has been nerfed a little bit, but it's also been buffed a little bit, so it's sort of like in a between state of being too good and too annoying, or just like not really worth using in certain situations. But it is definitely a good thing to have paired with this weapon. As odd as it may seem, I actually feel like this weapon sort of deserves a panic button like that. For situations where the weapon fails you and then continues to fail you even behind the splash wall, it has that sort of panic to help you maintain your presence in the 1v1 or help you still win and come out on top in that exchange. I feel like it is a good option for it and is still a good thing to have on a weapon. And while I won't argue that Splashdown is annoying and kind of frustrating at certain points, I do feel like the 96 sort of needs to have something like this, as it does need to have a more oriented kit for keeping the weapon in existence, and this is that. It continues to give it the splash wall to help it stay alive and help it sort of work with the weapon's problems, and then the splashdown sort of helps covers the weapon's problems and then the sub's problems. So it's overall a very good kit for the weapon. The downside to between the games here is that the splash wall now takes a lot longer to deploy than it used to in Splatoon 1, which in the original game it was used more of a way to start an engagement with somebody, where now because of how long it takes you can't really do that anymore, and that sort of takes away the versatility of using a splash wall, and that sort of lowered the amount of maps that this could be classified as a good pick on. It's good on maps that have flat surfaces, and you're going to have more flat surfaces than elevation changes, but then when you get to those points where there's going to be elevation changes or the things are just going to be getting in the way constantly, then it's not as good as it would have been in the first game, as you can't just throw down a splash wall and instantly try to make something of that sort of situation. Now, because of how long it takes, you can't really do that, and now the splash wall is more of a way to continue to engage someone or to maintain your position more so than it is to start an engagement. So while I'll say overall the 96 Deco in this game is still okay at best, and it's still a decent pick, it probably will never be as good as the 96 Deco in the first game, and though it is probably one of the best splash wall weapons right now, as, well, honestly, there aren't too many splash wall weapons to begin with. It is probably one of the best splash wall weapons. The honor was previously held by the Squeezer, which was the only other shooter at the time that had splash wall. Now the 96 Deco is out, it'll probably, well, I mean, I know for a fact that it'll outshine it when it comes to using the splash wall, especially when the Squeezer's variant will finally come out. But this is definitely an overall good weapon. It has a good kit that does a lot for the weapon, better than a lot of other kits do for a lot of other weapons. So I would say it is at least decent and is worth playing and checking out. And I want to hear everyone else's thoughts on this weapon, so feel free to leave stuff below. And I want to thank everyone for watching, and I will see you all next time.